What do you think a typical set list of those early days would consist of?
Good question. You know, a lot of, you know, we were listening to B.B. King, we were listening to the Chicago guys, the Junior Wells, the Muddy Waters. At that time, B.B. King, of course, was a huge influence, especially for Pip, and I really remember playing the Live at the Regal record, the B.B. King, the live one with Pip. We loved that. And but as far as a set list, Emmerich, I can't remember. I mean, I think we played a track by a singer called Eddie Floyd. Am I mixing him up? Not the soul singer, the blues singer. We did, you know, we certainly, as during the set, Phil and Steve did a section with just the two of them playing, and I think they usually played Meadlux Lewis's, one of his tracks, which I thought was Pine Top Boogie, but it could have been something to do with Train in the title. And you know, and Steve, that was really Steve's thing, and Phil was wailing on guitar as well, and they really, you know, they had something that they'd worked on, the two of them, but the essence of it was boogie woogie piano. That was the sort of foundation of what Steve was doing. And so I think we might, yeah, I can't remember specific songs.
What would you say the spirit was in the band? Were you trying to be as authentic as possible to those American guys, or were you trying to introduce a sort of British twist on the music? I
don't think we thought of it that consciously. I think initially we would have been just trying to be as authentic as possible within reason. I don't think we'd thought about, you know, anything as conscious, trying to put a British twist on it. I mean, of course, that's how it turned out, but I don't think it was conscious that. I think if anything, we were probably more interested in being authentic, maybe, and maybe rather than coming at it from a very kind of rock and roll perspective. I think we were probably more coming, I mean, as we know now, our interest was more on, you know, arguably on the jazz side and on, yeah, the side of authenticity. We certainly, whereas, because there was a point where a lot of American blues musicians were coming over as part of the British blues boom, and then often they would be put with a British band. And, you know, I remember a band called Steam Packet who
Rod Stewart.
Well, no, no, sorry, I'm thinking of Steamhammer. You're right, Emmerich. Steam Packet was the Rod Stewart, Long John Baldry one. But there was a band called Steamhammer who did some of the, and I was recently talking to Eric Peachy, and he remembers, he was in a band called Doc Kay's Blues Band, and I think I mentioned where Pip and I were running the Blues Club in Cambridge. Doc Kay's were one of the bands that came there also, as along with many others. But I remember Eric said to me quite recently, yeah, when we got the tours backing, I think it was Otis Spann first, who was the piano player from Muddy Waters band, and then subsequently Lowell Fulsom, who was a guitar player and singer in the vein of B.B. King, but who wrote a song called Tramp, which was a hit for Carla Thomas and Otis Redding. So he was a bit of a name on that level. But you know, yeah. So I think we were probably trying to be more authentic, but also just to rock. And someone else we really played quite a lot of gigs with was a guy called Champion Jack Dupree, who became a good friend because he was a black American musician, but I think subsequently he'd settled in north of England for quite a while, and so he was over here a lot, and we did a lot of the same gigs. And you know, we always had, it was riotous. You know, if you played gigs with him, everybody had a good time. It was very, very good time music, and we loved to, you know, enter fully into that spirit. As far as I remember, we really wanted to rock the house. And I think we, especially with some of the, you know, especially with backing some of those blues musicians, I think we did that often. We played some, you know, we had some, you know, great nights, sort of culminating in one night when we were playing with Lowell Fulsom at the 100 Club, when B.B. King came down to sit in with us. And of course that was unforgettable for all of us, and we thought we'd really made it then.
Yeah, I think Pip got a mention in the Melody Maker with B.B. King saying nice things about him, and
I can't remember. I think I remember him saying nice things generally about the band. But you know, it wouldn't have been surprising if he singled Pip out, because yeah, Pip always.
Well, Pip singled out B.B. King's quote about him. I think it's more like that.
They're probably somewhere. That Melody Maker interview must exist somewhere.
Yeah,
Chris Welch,
I've never come across it, but
presumably it is somewhere to be found.
So about the circuit at the time for a young blues band like you were there lots of opportunities to travel around England, play gigs?
As far as I remember, it was a mixture of quite sort of so-called blues clubs, often, you know, a room in the back of a pub or upstairs in a pub, and where attendances would vary. It could be, I mean, I remember there was one in Aylesbury that we played quite regularly, and that was very much on the circuit. Can't remember what it was called, but I think they could vary from being like Two Men and a Dog to, you know, reasonably well attended, and then the other gigs. I mean, you know, in a way, when Pip and I started the club, Juniper Blossom Blues Club in Cambridge, you know, we partly did it to give ourselves somewhere to play. The other types of venues we would have done some of were college venues. I remember doing a good gig at Leeds, a big hall in Leeds, and I think were played first. I think Yes were on the bill. I'm not sure if they were headlining. They played after us, and I remember it's funny, just by the by, I remember chatting to a guy who I later realised was Bill Bruford, because he was sitting at the sound listening to Yes do their sound check, and he was saying, yeah, I've just left this band to go to uni, I'm not sure if I've done the right thing. But then, as we know,
he rejoined them for the Cream gig, at the farewell gig at the Royal Albert Hall a couple of weeks later, and then the rest is history, as they say.